Our final storyteller is Clayton Kennedy, born and raised in Missouri. Clayton is currently the Pacific Regional Strategic Advisor with Peace Corps, including working with youth to address the impacts of climate change in the Pacific Islands. Also a former staff member of Peace Corps Fiji. Clayton is a returned Peace Corps volunteer, El Salvador 2010 to 2012. Please welcome Clayton and his story, Rosa's Courageous Joy.
At 4 p.m., Rosa's cow swallowed an unripe mango and choked. Black and docile, as much pet as beast, the cow was splayed across the ground wheezing by the time Rosa's husband and son arrived to the remote mountainside pasture in El Salvador. They worked to calm the cow and clear her airway, but as the sunset faded, they slumped to the ground. The cow was dead. She was weeks from giving birth. Swiftly, Rosa's son scampered down the mountain to their tiny farming village for a knife, flashlight, and their horse. When he returned, the husband stared at the cow for a moment. Hija, they called her, daughter, and then got to work. They loaded the best meat and pelt onto the horse, and at 9:30 p.m. began to lead him down the mountain path. Minutes later, as they rounded a dark switchback, the horse's hoof slid out and he buckled, coming down hard on his side, the weight of the meat seizing him into a slide down the ravine. The husband, rope wrapped around his hand, went with him, wrenched arm first into the tumble. 20 meters down, they slammed into a gully. The husband's shoulder was dislocated, his body bruised and cut. The horse, dead. Cow, calf, horse, gone in 3 hours. Dairy, income, transportation, pride, gone. Rosa's eyes glistened with fatigue and emotion the next morning as she stepped onto the porch of the tiny home her community had built for me, their first Peace Corps volunteer. Her dark hair was pulled back, her skirt colorful, and her hand heavy with a plate of uncooked cuts of steak. They'd lost a cow last night, she explained, but at least they hadn't lost the meat. For you, she said in Spanish, her weary face lifting into a smile. We set the meat marinating and took off for her 2-room adobe home, Rosa sharing details as we walked. The loss was devastating. No more milk for the kids, no more cash from loaning the horse, no more help with heavy loads during the rainy season. But the daily chores of life don't stop, she told me softly as she served me lunch. You've got to keep going. As I ate, Rosa told me how Hija used to munch straight from her hand, the cow's big nostrils blowing warm huffs that would tickle the thin skin on her wrists. It's true, isn't it? She asked her husband as he stepped in from stretching the hide. He began a deep, slow laugh and nodded, the heavy lines across his face loosening as he looked at her. Rosa pulled out a cream and began to massage it into his wounds. Over 20 people hiked up the mountain at 10 p.m. last night, she told me, coming as soon as they heard what was happening, rushing to help the injured, haul the meat, hug the child. Rosa paused to set her hand atop her husband's. We're giving away all the meat, making sure that most of the 30 households in this community receive some. It's the custom here. It's always done when somebody loses a cow. I asked her to repeat that. Giving away all the meat of a pregnant cow for free? Rosa nodded. Esa es la unidad. That is unity. The people of El Salvador have not had it easy. Years of civil war evolved into decades of gang violence, punctuated by natural disasters and widespread poverty. And yet, despite that, the people of this little nation smile into the top tier of nearly every global survey of happiness and life satisfaction. Time and again, I witnessed Rosa and her neighbors experience hardship, but they didn't let that get in their way of their love for what is here, their love for who is here. Positivity, hard work, human connection. They are choices these families make, priorities they define and stick to. Doing so is undoubtedly a form of courage, a brave, willful focus on that which is important. What we are, Rosa once told me, is imperfect, poor, and beautiful, and we love to share in this with others. As I stood to leave, Rosa's youngest daughter brought out a box with baby parakeets. They hand-feed the little birds, spooning a watered-down corn dough into their frantic beaks. When the food comes near, the little birds clamp onto the spoon and begin to shake spastically, spraying the dough all over. They're really fun, aren't they? Rosa asked, eyes still glistening with emotion, but now bouncing in imitation of the nestlings. They always make me laugh.